Marketing is this mysterious thing. How do you know which type of marketing you should be doing? How do you know what marketing you should be doing for your business? Well, there's only one real way to know, and you know we're a big fan of it on this podcast. It is test and measure. That's the only way to know. Go and do it. Try it. Run a Facebook ad. Talk to some influencers, send out some flyers, do some stuff, and see what brings in sales. The only way to know what marketing works is to test and measure. And in this week's episode, we get to find out the results from Adam from Craft Box Club's marketing mini experiment.
The extraordinary belongs to those that create it. Rebelling against business plans and debt, rebelling against what society expects of us to build cool businesses, make money, have fun, and do good. Let's create something extraordinary together. Welcome to The Rebel Entrepreneur.
Adam, welcome back to the show for Marketing Mini Experiments Part 2. It's good to have you back.
Hello, I'm back. It's good to be back.
Hello, I'm back.
Yes.
It's like the British version of Arnold Schwarzenegger there. Hello, I'm back.
That's what they call me, yeah.
So it's been a few weeks since we did episode 1. And in episode 1, we had a few things we were going to test. We were doing the Facebook ad. We were talking to some influencers. We were doing a little bit of research around that and sending some emails out. And now we get to know what worked and what didn't. So before we dive into the actual numbers, how was your experience of doing this marketing mini experiment? How did it feel? Like, what happened to you?
Yeah, it's been really good, and I've got some good results which I can share with you. It was great, Alan, to have the time set or the homework set, so that I knew that exactly what I had to do for the week ahead, and I committed to something, and that was a real motivator. So that was helpful.
Well, I think. Yeah, because I've been doing this coaching series now in different versions with about 5 or 6 people. And I was out for dinner last night. Someone actually asked me, do you ever have any problems with people not doing the homework? And I kind of thought about it for a second. The answer was no immediately. Then I thought, why is it no? And I thought, well, people are coming back on a podcast with an audience of 3,500 people they have to report back to. There's not going to be much follow-through issue. They have some accountability. Plus, I'm there going, hello, did you do the homework? And I think I also spell it out. Well, we spell it out very clearly at the end of the episode before. Like, this is what we're going to do. A, B, C. I work very hard to make sure it's clear next actions. Everyone knows what they're doing. And I think that's so critical. So I think if you're listening to this podcast, you have 2 options. Option 1, apply to be one of the coachees. Option 2, find someone in your life that will do this for you, or do it with you, and ask them, so I want to keep moving my business on every week. Will you have a 10-minute chat with me about what do I want to do in the next week, and working out and defining it, and then coming back and going, did you do it? How did it go? Are you okay? And I think that weekly progress of what are we doing to get things better? Did it work? What are we doing next? Did it work? What are we doing next? And I've been thinking a lot recently that business is just a journey. For those of you listening this, running a business is a journey. It's not something you go, I've done it. I've done business. Tick. It's over. And I think it's a bit like weight loss and fitness. I wish I could get to weight loss and fitness and get to my ideal weight, and then it's like, tick, I've done it. But that doesn't happen very often. I get to my ideal weight, and then I either keep going or I bounce back. And it's the same with the business. It's a journey. It's what am I doing this week to keep progressing, keep moving, keep driving? What am I doing next week? And actually, the joy is in the continual improvement, the continual work over time. So I think that's a really important point you've pulled out right at the start. And it does help. The follow through does help if you have someone like me going, so what are you going to do next? And just it's very simple questions, but it does help. So those of you listening, go find someone that will help you do this. Or do it for yourself. Pull out a notebook, write down the questions I ask each week, and then ask them for yourself. Like if you're listening to this, play along with it as if you were Adam. Just pretend you're Adam answering the questions that I'm blatantly going to ask Adam in a minute. Like, how did it work? What were the stats? Can you go into Facebook numbers? I'm blatantly going to grill him on all this stuff because I'm curious. And just play along as if you're Adam. So that accountability of having someone there, Adam, have you had that before in your life?
Well, I was going to say, I think it's very, particularly in a business where you're passionate about what the product that you're providing. It's quite easy to be accountable to your customers because they've given you some money, and then you'd sort of feel like you're letting them down if you weren't providing the thing. But then things like doing the sales and marketing, that's nobody's gonna apart from you or having an accountability person. There's no one in my house, possibly my cat at the moment, who's just made his way into the room, is going to shout at you about not doing those things. So it's particularly important for those things that aren't directly related to getting your product out to your customers,
which they are the critical things that they must be done, but there's no one there telling you. They're the incredibly important but non-urgent things, like sales, like marketing, and they only actually become urgent when you run out of customers or money. But until that point, they're non-urgent, and actually we need to do this important work before it becomes urgent. If we wait until marketing and sales are urgent, we are in dire straits. I know, I've done it.
Yeah, so in answer to your question, have I had this sort of thing before? Not really. In previous lives when I've been working in an office, you sort of have a manager and you have to explain to them what you've been up to all week. But no, with this, it's just me in my house, and I don't have that at all. So it's very
in corporate life. It's inbuilt. They manage you. They want you to do stuff. They know this stuff works, so they do it for you. When you get out on your own, there's no manager looking over your shoulder going, Adam, give me the status update. What's going on with this project? Come on. Cool. So that's accountability. Let's get into the marketing. Where shall we start? Should we start with the Facebook ad? I'm kind of excited. I want to know the results. I'm going to dictate. Let's start with the Facebook ad. What happened? How did you feel? Run me through from the very start. Give us an overview to start with. What was your sort of daily budget? What was the target, and what kind of content did you put on it?
Great. So I got really excited about Facebook adverts. I think we talked about last time. There's just this huge potential for scalability. So once you've got a recipe that works, you can sort of turn that up, and get more and more customers. And it just seems like a really efficient way, if it works, to get more customers. So I've dabbled in Facebook ads before, and I've had no success at all. I've had a fair few click-throughs to view the site, which you start by feeling quite good about that, but after a while you realize that's it's kind of just for show, and that's not what it's about. It's about the sales, and I was getting pretty disheartened. So I think in my mind this experiment was going to be my last crack at doing this, and if I didn't get any sales, then I would just sort of abandon it, at least for a while, and go on to one of the other many potential projects for marketing.
There's so much you could do.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the background to sort of frame this. But yeah, so the way that I went about it was, so I did a load of research about the best way of putting these ads together. My daily budget was just £5, so I spent that over about a week. I think I spent overall. I can have a look in. I
So
think I
for those of
spent.
you listening, £5 is about $7.5.
That's it. I'm going to get Facebook Ad Manager up, so I can grab the figures. But no, it's been about £5 a day over a couple of weeks, which wasn't huge. And I took the approach that I'd rather spend £5 a day over a few weeks than spending that all in one day, because then potentially people would come back to it, and they would see it a few times. Fewer people would see it more times over those few days, rather than just showing it to loads more people once, and then they might ignore it that time.
I think that's actually a really smart thing. So one of the key things in marketing is you very rarely click on an advert the first time you see it. Very rarely. It's normally the second or third time. And I know I've done that when I'm scrolling down my Facebook feed and there's an advert for, I don't know, people know what I'm into. They know, Adam. They know what I'm into. They show me adverts for Marvel related products like clothing and things like that. And I very rarely click the first time I see it. But if it persistently comes up and it looks good, second, third, I start to see it. And that's one of the marketing principles of impressions. You need to see something a few times before you actually go, oh, this is interesting. So I think that's a very, very clever strategy.
Great.
Well, we don't know the results yet.
That's
we don't know the results yet. So let's hold off my judgment of being clever. It sounds clever so far.
That's it. So, I've got the figures here. Great. So, so the key things that I included in the advert were a question to get people engaged to start with. I put a video on there so it really clearly shows what the product's about and shows off some of the videos that go with the craft kits. And then there's the offer in there, and they're actually things that I've never used before when I've been doing adverts. I've not used any one of those, and they're meant to be the really critical things for getting engagement and getting sales. So I spent £63 overall.
£63, which is about $90, maybe $85. So to give you an idea, if you're in different countries, that's about what we spent. So it was a mini experiment. And
yes,
that's what I love. Like, you've done a lot of research, you planned, and it is a mini experiment. Like, I think people think they need to go to big to start with, Adam. That sentence did not come out well. Andrew, you know what to do. I think people have a feeling that they need to go big to start with. I need to pony up hundreds of pounds, hundreds of dollars, do a big experiment to see if it works. And actually, you're better off doing a series of mini experiments, learning what works, improving, refining, and then having another go if you want to. And then when you know how to do this, because it's very rare you get this right the first time. I've done a lot of different adverts over the time and none of them have worked. Well, it gets better as you go on, and Adam's had a similar experience. So start small, do a series of tests, and then we see what happens. So, yeah, you spent £63, mini experiment, love it.
Yeah, so I was aiming for to spend £100, but actually, what I was doing with the offer was to say that it expires at the end of the month. So I basically had to cut that offer short at the end of the month. So I stopped that a little bit early. And that's another thing to really get people interested. Was to have that as a limited time offer, so people think, oh, I can't just wait around. I need to take action right now.
That's incredibly important in any sales situation, is the time-bound offer. Love it.
Cool. And I can go into a few more specifics about the Google advert, but you want to know the results, don't you, really?
No. Let's get geeky. Come on, let's get geeky here, Adam. Let's right. Talk about this. How many people saw it? Where did it go? Like, I want to know the details.
All right, cool. So the interesting thing was I did this thing. What was it called? like like a few different tests. So I had 3 different types of advert running at the same time under the same campaign.
Okay.
So and Facebook will choose the one that the algorithms say is doing best. And
Okay.
really quickly, it just chucked out all of the adverts apart from the video one.
It's all about the video. So the video worked best by far.
Yeah, so
And this is,
it's
sorry, I was just going to say, this is a video that you uploaded directly to Facebook.
yes, yeah, exactly. So part of my business is making videos, so I had all the software kind of ready to do that.
So it very quickly worked out that the video was the one that was grabbing people's attention. Did it tell you in terms of, is that in terms of click-throughs? Is that in terms of likes, comments? Like, how were they measuring the success of that advert?
So they do show you the click throughs, but what was happening was that they were spending the budget way less on everything that wasn't video. So all like 95% of the budget in just in the first day, they threw directly at that video. So that shows that they're not really getting a huge amount of data before just knowing that the video is going to work. And
Okay.
they're spending a bit of budget on the other ones. So there was just a single image, and then this carousel thing where you can kind of click through various different products.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much straight away, they just seem to allocate 95% of the budget to the video. And I don't know if that's just because it was sort of only £5. They just went, oh, it's not worth spending the budget on anything else. If you put £100 on a day, they would have spread the budget a bit more. But they basically just decided for me just to show the video straight away.
Cool. So the video was the one they showed. What happened to it? What were the results over the week? How was your experience? Did you get any sales? You know that moment when the sale comes in and you go, oh, it worked. Did that happen?
I did. And it was an incredible moment to get a sale from one of these things. It's just nice to know that it all works, you know. Yeah, so you know straight away whether the sale is for the Facebook ad, because
How?
Facebook knows via this thing called this pixel that's installed on the website, and then also I had an offer code. So you could only use that offer code if you had clicked through from the Facebook advert. So I had a way of just verifying that. So I knew straight away, oh, it's worked and it's come from Facebook.
Perfect. So when did that happen? What was that? Was that first moment? Was it quite quick? Did it take a few days?
Yeah, it was probably about 3 days in. Somebody bought a kit, and then a couple more days in, I had another sale.
Hey. So how many sales did you get over the period?
I got
Drum roll,
two,
please.
With a big smile on my face, I'm saying I got 2 sales.
So you've got 2 sales. Then I guess my second question, I'm going to get geeky here because I know your business a little bit. Was that for one-off kits? Was it for 6-month subscriptions? Did they buy the lifetime subscription? Like, how much did these people... Because we've spent £63. How much did we bring in for £63?
So the amount that we brought in up front, so the revenue amount was £74
Okay.
from those 2 sales,
Which
sounds quite good.
Well, it's £11 more than we spent on advertising. So, yeah, I would assume you're losing money at that rate. But like, we proved it works. We've proved you've got sales. But currently, this mini experiment, in terms of your profit margin, you can't spend £63 to make 74. That just doesn't make sense financially, I assume.
Yeah, so I lost £20 overall on that, but if so, one of the two sales was signing up to a 3-month subscription. So
Yes.
if that 3-month subscription renews, then I just renews once, then I'm sort of £15 up on that one.
And then this then brings us on to the lifetime value of a customer, because sometimes you want to bring the customer in for one set, they enjoy the one set, and then if they sign up to the 6-month thing, you know you're going to make money over the long term. But on a pure initial basis, 85%, like 85% of the money that you bought in was spent on the advert, which is incredibly high. Now we just need to see if they renew. If they renew, you definitely get into the fact that it is worth buying those customers for that price. But then that's a really interesting question. What is your renewal rate on 6-month subscriptions, Adam?
So this was a 3-month one.
Sorry.
It varies because some of them are gift subscriptions. So the gift subscriptions don't tend to stick because they're like a one-off thing. But with the with regular subscriptions, it's about kind of 50%.
That's interesting.
So people do, half of the people tend to stick with it, and when they stick with it, it's for the long term. So it's not just for 3 months at a time. I've had customers that stick around for since over a year ago now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you're going to build up more data as you go. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about starting your business, you won't have any of this data to start with. Like, you won't be able to answer these questions. This is something you build up as you go and you start to understand your business better. The challenge is most people do not understand their business. They never look at these numbers. They just know what's coming in, what's going out, and whether they're in the red or the black, whether they're making money or not. But understanding these numbers then enables us to do the experiment part 2, experiment part 3, and then we can work out, can we improve the renewal rate? Can we improve the advert? What can we do? So how do you feel in general? How do you feel in general about the Facebook advert experiment, what you spent, what you bought in? What are your thoughts and feelings, Adam?
So I feel like it's worth exploring a little bit more because that's the first time I've got real results. I feel like I'm doing something right, at least, which is
yes,
which is good. So I think the initial thing was like relief that that I can make something work out of this. And the lifetime value of the customer thing, I don't want to sort of kid myself that it's worth buying a load of customers and spending loads of money just in case they might stay with me for a few years, so it's a tricky one to work out. But I think overall, because I've had the success now, success in my terms anyway, I feel like it was a success. So it's enough success to go on to do another experiment, I would say. So I'm quite keen to run this at the end of, for a week at the end of every month, which actually seems to be when people want to start subscriptions anyway. Because I have a sort of peak in purchases towards the end of the month. I feel like it's worth running another mini experiment, tweaking it slightly, changing the offer a little bit, and then seeing what I get for the next month.
So I love that. I think that's fantastic. So currently we spent 85% of revenue on the Facebook ad. The question is, this time, can we get it down to 60%? Can we just improve it? And then next time, can we get it down to 50%? Can we get it down to 40%? And when you get down to that, you're going, well, okay, like now I'm actually making money on the initial sale. And then you go, well, okay, that's something worth scaling. But if you don't press through to version 2 of the experiment, you'll never improve it. We'll never get to the next stage. So I think that's a really lovely way to look at it. Like, yes, you lost £24 on this particular bit, but it's a mini experiment and that's okay. Let's see if we can lose nothing on the next one. And then let's see if we can actually make £24 on the third one. And by that stage, if you make £24 on the third one, you're thinking, woo, I'm going to scale it slightly. I'm going to drive slightly more traffic. I'm going to get going. But it's all a process. It's all a journey, which I love.
That's it. I think one of the main things that I want to explore in the next experiment is, so I got 2 sales, but I actually got 30 checkouts. I got
wow.
30 initiated checkouts. So it, I never know how much to trust those numbers, exactly what initial checkouts mean, which is quite hard to test. But if 30 people started to buy the product, I wonder what might have scared them off at the last minute.
What stopped them? Yeah, what stopped them on that page? What did they see? What did they not follow through with? I know it happens to me sometimes. I go through, I look and I start the checkout and then I go, I'll do that later, and then never get back to it.
Yeah, so one of the things that I had as part of my advert was that the discount was only on 3-month subscriptions. So my reason for doing that was that I wanted people to buy the higher value product. So that like to offset the cost of advertising. So it sort of became a bit more worth it. So one of those sales was the higher value product, and the other one didn't actually take advantage of the offer. They just bought something else, which was of low value. So I wonder if somebody might go through and go, oh, there's a sale on, essentially, and then click on something else that they wanted and realize they can't use the offer code on that.
I mean, there's a chance with that, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We do want to drive the higher value things, unless there's a way for those lower value items. Like, can you see what they put in their basket? Like, if they're initial checkouts, no, because that would be really interesting. Yeah, be really interesting to see. Did they put a single kit in their checkout? Then the question is, would 30 single kits have been better, or even 25? Right, maybe next. So here's the question: what are we going to test in experiment 2, Adam? Because we could use the same video, we can do the same things that worked, but like we should tweak it in defined ways. And the key is not to tweak too much, because if we change everything, we don't know what improved it and what made it worse. Because sometimes you do a tweak and you change things and it gets worse. Sometimes it gets better. So if we tweak 72 different ways, the advert, the positioning, the market, the code, we'll never know what is improving or not. So the key is to pick 1 or 2 items and go, I'm going to test it this way and see if it improves. So for mini experiment number 2, what are you going to tweak?
So I think I'd like to try an offer that applies to everything and see how that works. But just to make it really frictionless as a process. So it's super easy to click through and apply that offer. So there's nothing in the way that they need to go back and remember the code or something, perhaps when you click through, it's hard to find the advert again or something if you've forgotten the code. I'd like to try something that's, it's an easier offer for everyone to apply.
Okay, cool.
And then the second change, and you can split this one off, so you can see the results in isolation, is the audience. So the targeting that I did for the audience in the previous one, in the experiment that we just did, was to focus on a lookalike audience based on the people who have visited my website. And I think I'd like to explore an audience that's based on people's interests, purely people's interests, rather than website visits.
So you're going to do both this time. So you can do half the budget goes into the audience that you've got the lookalike, and half goes into the audience that is based on interests.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because then that's an exactly fair test because you're putting the same advert out to the two audiences and we can see which one responds better and we can refine from there. I love that. Okay, that gives us some simple steps to take to roll out version 2.
Yeah, great.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. No, I'm sure. Yeah, I love this sort of. It's cool to get all the data back as well, and it's super addictive because there's an app for this that doesn't work very well actually. So it's one of those that you've got to kind of physically refresh all the time, so which makes it more addictive. You can check back on this every 5 seconds. Have I got a sale? Have I got a sale? But I've been quite good at leaving it alone while I run it this time around. So I've practiced that one. But I love this kind of stuff. I'm up for the next experiment.
Excellent. I love that. And I think the message for everyone listening to this is working through the versions. And I think sometimes we get so excited and we want to go big and go quick, but you've got to do the mini experiments in a small way to know what works. I think in the past, I've got excited, Adam, and I've gone, okay, here's my advert. I've done all my copy. I've done everything. Let's just throw £200 at it and boom, it goes out into the world. It didn't work. And then I never spend the time going, what did I learn? What could I improve for version 2? And I think it's far better off if you take your time, do it slowly, learn from it, try another thing. That'll either make it better or worse. We'll learn from that. We'll do version 3. And you can never get to version 3 unless you've done version 1, version 2 and gone through it. And it's this slow process, which people like me, I hate the slow process because I just want to get on to the final version. But this is the way you make it work, is we slowly tweak it each week. We slowly make it better and we'll eventually get
there. I agree with you. That's great.
Excellent.
Let's do it.
Adam is in concurrence. We're in. So you did try some other things in the mini experiment as well. We spoke about reaching out to influencers, getting your message out there. We spoke about doing some of that, maybe emailing them one a day over the period. Did you manage to get round to any of that, Adam, Craftbox Club?
I did it.
No, you actually did your homework. I love it. Okay, run me through this.
I'll tell you what I didn't do, and I just can't seem to work this into my life at the moment. Is the doing the same, doing one thing every day.
Okay.
Every day just seems to be completely different, with different challenges and all sorts of different things to do. So I went at this in chunks.
That's okay. It happened
over a couple of weeks. Yeah, for sure. So I think influencers. We were sort of. I'm not sure whether we knew what that meant at the time, because that's a whole load of different people. Is it PR? Is it sort of going to the press? Is it talking to a few people on Instagram? So I did a few different things. So one of the things that I went to was I went to talking to craft-based kind of craft bloggers on Instagram.
Love it.
So I went to target quite a few of those, so it was craft bloggers and kind of eco bloggers. So I just went and liked and commented on a few of the things in their feed, and then started up little chats.
So you commented on their actual stuff, so you're engaging in the conversation, you're actually speaking to them about what they're interested in, and then you sent them a private message, or?
Yes. Yeah, I did. Yeah, private message.
And
made friends.
In suspense.
Sorry, I was taking notes. I was scribbling, trying to remember what I did. I'm just trying to make up what I did, so I can tell you something. I did do it.
Well, sometimes you just do it and you don't think, oh, that is what I did. You just
That's
do
it.
it. And then I come along and go, what did you do? And then I try and turn it into a process if it works, because
There we
then we
are.
can repeat it. So I completely understand.
So I basically made friends with a few people, and the way that we've ended it sort of so far, that we've taken it as far as we've done some story shares. So
Okay.
I've posted about some things that they're talking about, particularly the eco products, on my stories on Instagram, because we'll have overlapping people who care about the environment a bit more, and value kind of eco-friendly products. So yeah, I posted on my stories, and they post about me on their stories, so I get a bit of exposure to them.
I love that. Was there any impact from that? What did it do?
Uh, zero sales. Yeah, no impact. It's hard to tell whether people came via those stories to see the page, and it's hard to tell about whether there was sort of more awareness based on it.
Did
It's
did, did you get more followers? Did anyone comment? Like, did you look at your Instagram followers before and afterwards?
um, I I've probably got 50 more followers since, but
Okay.
that's not loads more than usual. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, and I do get lots of I do get a fair amount of engagement anyway, so it's quite hard to separate that out. So it was hard to really justify that having any impact immediately anyway.
So how long do you think you spent on this?
I spent I basically sat on the sofa with my phone for 2 hours and said I'm gonna do this. So
I love it. I love
that
it.
was
So
pretty
it's
much
two
it.
hours.
So I went. So it was the 2 hours getting in touch with everybody, and then sometimes it takes people a day to reply. So then it was a bit of following up after that.
Which sort of happens in and around life, sending messages back and forwards. Um, okay, so these sharing Instagram stories doesn't seem to do that much for your business yet. However, you've made contact with a bunch of interesting people in your space that you can suggest doing other stuff with. And making friends is just the first bit.
Yeah.
So I don't see this work as lost in any way. I see it as creating connections that we can go back to and say, that was fun. What else can we do? Do we write a blog post? Do I do this? Do I do that? Do you want to send me some questions for an interview for your blog? Do you want, yeah. So there's other stuff we can do here to keep
Yes.
progressing this on.
It was also very free. Sitting on the
Very
sofa with your
free.
phone with your phone for 2 hours with a coffee. That's I could deal with that.
It's cheaper than Facebook ads at
It
£63,
certainly is.
but it's brought in
Yes.
less sales so far.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So, like, are you up for a version 2 of this? Like, what do you want to do with this particular part of the experiment?
Well, so I'm up for doing similar things because it's so easy. But I wonder whether there are a couple of other things we might talk about that I want to focus a bit more time on.
I love that. Okay, cool. Because the danger is with marketing, Adam, we do what's easy, not what's profitable. And I know when I started my business, what was easy was to work on my website. What was profitable was to make phone calls. But I didn't want to do that. Didn't like it. Painful, put me out of my comfort zone, made me sweat. I got rejected. I hated it. So I did what was easy, not what was profitable. And I think that's a really important point for us and everyone that's listening is don't get sucked into it's free and it's easy if it doesn't make any difference. And if it does
Indeed.
make a difference, that's great. But if it doesn't, we need to focus on the high value things. So let's leave influencer homework there for a second. We can talk about PR as well later. Just before we move on, the third thing you said about sending out an email to the mailing list.
Yeah, so there are a couple of other things I did on influencers as well, which we can talk about. But yeah, with the newsletter, and that is something I want to, well, not newsletter necessarily, is it? But the mailing list, yeah, that's something I really wanted to focus on a lot more, because recently I've had a few people cancel because life's getting busy, and I always follow up every time that people cancel the subscriptions, and without fail they are saying I'll be back in a couple of months. So I really need to make sure I get in touch with them in a couple of months and remind them that I'm still there.
Well, I think with those specific people that say they'll be back in a couple of months, like literally put a diary reminder for 2 months saying contact this person. Like it is literally worth doing that. If that's what they've said, like just literally do it. I think there's a general piece of the email mailing list which goes out to everyone. That's less personal. There's a personal bit of I followed up, I chatted to you, like, oh, I've got this new thing. You can send them an individual message, and that will make them feel incredibly loved. And I bet you it'll convert far higher than a general email out to the mailing list. So if they've said that, I would diarize that, Adam. Like, they've said they'll come back. Let's track them down.
I love that. I mean, it's so simple, isn't it? But yeah, my mind just wasn't going there. It wasn't getting past the mailing list. So yeah, all right. I'm taking that one. Taking it all the way to the bank. I'm putting a big star and square brackets around it. I'm going to draw lots of beautiful flowers around it to remind myself to read the notes. Yeah,
I know I'm winning when Adam draws flowers around my comments. That's how I know I'm winning. But it sounds simple, but I think we forget to do that. If someone says they want to do it, then just set a diary reminder and follow up. And that's what I do if I want to make things happen. And I know if I put it in my calendar, I do. Just one thing where this has gone wrong for me in the past is I put the diary reminder in at the time, and then I get to it in 2 months' time and go, what was this? What do I need to say? And then I feel a bit weird about doing it and I don't do it. So just in that diary reminder, it is, they said they're coming back in 2 months. Send them an email that says, oh, how are you doing? Happy summer. Like, what do you want to say to them at that point in 2 months' time?
Yeah, I guess, I guess things like, just how are you doing? Be kind of friendly. But then also, are you missing us? Are you missing the creativity in your life? Here's the latest kit. If you subscribe now, I can make sure that you're, back on the system and you can carry on crafting.
Perfect. And just make it very personal so they know it's not a spammy thing. It's actually you reaching out to them. Yeah. You left 2 months ago. We miss you.
Yeah. We want you back.
Excellent. So tell me about the general mailing list then. Tell me about the email list. Where are we? What are we doing? Did the email out do anything? What happened?
So I've basically did 2 different types of emails. So one of them was to say, there's a lot behind the scenes of doing this email, because I'm managing everything on a new kind of database that I built after Christmas, so I can pull different types of people out, because I don't want to be sending an email to people going, we want you to come back, when they're already subscribed.
Yes, we want to avoid that, definitely.
Yeah. So now I can pull those people out, that the right types of people for the right kind of messaging. And I've sent an email saying we want you back to some people, albeit a kind of general one. And then I've started to do, I built something to put out, like all of the emails that haven't unsubscribed or whatever. And that's just like eco crafting ideas, just to get them to visit the website.
Okay, cool.
And add a bit more value.
The email that went out saying we want you back, just to double check, was it personalised at the top? Did it say Dear Jeff, Dear Jane, Dear Freddie?
Yes.
Perfect, excellent, because that's one of the biggest mistakes to make is to go dear crafter,
Yeah,
because that will immediately go in the junk and the bin.
right.
Excellent. So it's got their name at the top. It had a message. Did you get any responses? What happened?
Well, it's been quite good actually. But this, yeah, without overcomplicating this, there were a few European customers that I have, and their boxes weren't getting through because of customs changes after Brexit.
Brexit.
Yes, wonderful. I've had all sorts of problems importing and exporting boxes from Europe, um, but yeah, so a few of them either were about to cancel and we sort of had a chat and I said, I'll let me sort it out, or had already cancelled. So I had about 4 or 5 of them that were about to go or had left, and that email prompted some more conversations with them, and I did an experiment with one of my customers in Germany to just send them a freebie basically to make sure that it got there and that
Did it
they
get
would let me
through?
know. It did. So
Yay!
I've worked out customs now. So yeah, so I managed to from that email and then a few conversations around getting Europe sorted. I got 5 more customers back.
5. That is fantastic. Congratulations on fixing Europe.
Yes.
If you could do that for the
Apparently,
rest of us.
I'm told that in Germany there are lots of budding crafters, but they don't really. There's no craft businesses selling them craft stuff, which I find amazing. So yeah, Germany, there's an untapped market there apparently.
Do we need to test a Facebook advert in German?
Yeah, that's an idea, isn't it?
You've just
Yeah.
told me there's an untapped market. So, what's the first thing that goes through my head? How can we tap it?
Yeah, yeah. It's strange, isn't it? You have your head full of all of this other stuff, so the things that seem quite obvious just don't occur to you. No, I think I had that on my Sunday maybe list,
Mm.
but perhaps that's worth bringing up to now.
Well, here's the question. I think we should come back for episode 3 in 2 weeks' time and go what's worked, what's not, or whenever it is after you've run your next Facebook ad. What are you actually going to test over the next 2, 3 weeks until we speak again next in marketing? What do you want to try? What do you want to test? Because we could spend ages coming up with ideas, which we have done before, and we could come up with thousands of ideas, but you can't do it all. What do you want to test over the next 2 or 3 weeks?
So let's put the the taking over Germany to the side for a minute because I'm not I'm not sure I've fully thought that through. But it's definitely, yeah. Maybe we can talk about that in a couple of weeks, and
I'd
I'll
love that. We
have
can
that in my
definitely
brain.
talk about that. Yeah. We can
Um,
also speak to your customers and say, I'm thinking of expanding into the German market. Uh, any tips? Want to help? It'd be
yeah.
interesting to know. Anyway, let's put Germany to one side. Yeah. What are we going to do in the next round of testing?
So I want to test the new Facebook advert at the end of the month, so that last week at the end of this month, and have another offer on. I want to a come up with and start to execute a plan on the email list, on the mailing list, because at the moment it's quite sporadic, and I think it would really benefit from once a week or something, one or every couple of weeks. I don't know, regularly getting something out to the mailing list with different messages, because I'd love to go out and go, please come back to one section. Oh, you're a current subscriber, but are you enjoying it? Would you like to buy it for a friend, for example? All those sorts of things. And I feel like I need to have a plan, because that's not something that I can just do in my random chunks of the day. And I need to think about those messages and get those out.
Yes, and then there's sort of the general message to the mailing list who've signed up, going, here's the latest in eco crafting, here's what's going on, here's what I'm focused on, the general engagement as well. And you've got sort of different levels of this. The general engagement for everyone, the customers that are existing that you want to keep engaged, like you're a current subscriber. Here's an idea, here's a bonus thought, here's a video for you. Like you weren't expecting this, here's some extra love on these elements. And then definitely the people who've unsubscribed, uh, we need to message them every now and again and just say, how are you doing? Here's an idea. Here's a thought. This is something you could do at home if you're missing crafting. If you're really missing crafting, obviously we'd love to have you back. But here's an idea that's free that you could do at home, that gets people excited, because then you're giving value and helping them, and that's why they'll remain on the list. If we just continually hit previous subscribers with come back by now, come back by now, come back by now, they will leave that part of the list. And actually, what we want to do is keep adding value, giving them ideas, keeping them engaged, and then just mentioning, we'd love to have you back. But if we add value, they'll stay on your list, and then we might get them back in the future.
Yeah, indeed. So I need to set that up as a project, and start making progress with that on its own.
I love your language. I love your language. I'm going to set it up as a project. So that's the project. What's the next action?
I've listened to that episode. I've been doing that actually.
It's so important. It makes such a difference.
That's it. Yeah. I'm a big fan, so I've listened to every other podcast so far. I've been doing it for absolutely everything. So I've got OneNote of lots of projects, and then in each thing, like the note is the first action. So for that one, the first action is open a spreadsheet, divide the mailing list up into different sections, and then come up with some messages to target those sections. Is that one step, or is that 3 steps?
I think that's many steps, but
open the spreadsheet.
I think we can definitely do that. I think the first action is decide on spreadsheet segments I want to target. That's open the spreadsheet, look at it and go, okay, here's the segments. Segment 1, people who've subscribed and then left. Segment 2, current subscribers. Segment 3, all the people, like the whole mailing list. And I think just having those thoughts of what are my segments, that then will lead to, based on what my segments are, what's my message for each segment. But first step, choose segments.
I've got it. Choose segments. Got another star.
Excellent. And then once you've chosen segments, that will inspire the next thought, which is, what am I going to communicate to said segments, and then we can work from there. Cool. So next up on the test, we've got Facebook adverts, we've got the mailing list, and the segments. Is there anything else, Adam?
Well, so I wanted to refine talk to influencers a little bit more and turn that into a link building project. So I have, because it's easy. Partly, as you said, it's very easy to work on the website. So I have worked on the website, but I've managed to get it to a place now where I've had quite a few people look it over, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing anything on the website itself that was reducing its ranking on Google, and that it was really easy to buy from it. So I've spent some time on doing that, and I'm there now with that. What I think I need to do next to increase my Google ranking, because it has been slipping recently, is to do some. Yeah, so it's interesting. It's me, and there are 2 or 3 other similar businesses on there which are also slipping at the same time in favor of the bigger companies.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I think I need to start getting some more links out there. I wonder whether it's because there were lots of articles written at the beginning of lockdown about craft subscriptions, and they might be being pulled for, being taken down at the moment. So I need to get back on those.
Okay, interesting. Well, I think first off, it's great that you noticed. Most people wouldn't even notice that because it's not something they track. And secondly, that is absolutely something we can do about. So you call it the Influencer Link Building Project.
Yes.
And then let's start talking to these people. So you can go back to the ones you've messaged and say, we've done a story share. We've spoken a few bit. I love what you're doing. What else could we do? Do you want to do a link share thing? Do you want to write some articles? Do you how can we help each other? And I think that's then quite an interesting chat to go from there.
Yeah, that's it. So I think I need to choose the ones on Instagram that have got websites, because not all of them blog on websites. And I feel like if they're blogging on Instagram, it's not going to be seen as such high value by Google. So I've been seeking out specifically people who write top 10 subscription boxes or best way to eco-craft and that sort of thing. And I've sent 3 emails to people to get in touch with them. I've contacted the people who have written the articles, and I'm not necessarily sure that that's the best way of going about it, because I feel like they might have written it and they're done with that article and they've moved on. A few I've tried to get in touch with on Instagram, because there's, it says on the byline or whatever, it says who they are and this is how to find them on Instagram, and they're not even on Instagram to read it. So when you message, it says whether it's seen or not. My messages don't even get seen by them. So I think I need to try and find somebody at the magazine or online magazine sort of newsletter, blog or whatever, and really try and get their attention.
I love that. Okay, so part 3 is finding the right people and then starting to get their attention and send them the messages.
Yeah.
Cool. I love it. So those are your 3 bits of homework. Are you happy about that? Is there anything else that we need to discuss on those bits?
No, I think I'm happy with that. We've I don't know if you want me to mention it, but we've done another podcast that's a little bit more about what we've just talked about. So I can take a lot of the lessons from that onto the link building, I think.
Which, if you're listening to this, that is the next episode that is coming out chronologically. So we will be speaking to Adam and John Card from Full Story Media, who's written for The Guardian, The Times, The Independent. He's a journalist and a PR expert, and he actually helps to get the press for Rebel Business School. He's a very interesting guy. And Adam and I had a long chat of how we can get Adam's business into the press, find contacts, and start getting people writing about Craftbox Club. So you've got that episode next. Then we'll check back in on the episode afterwards with, has Adam implemented it? Is he doing it? And has it worked? So the episode afterwards, we'll come back, we'll go back through the Facebook adverts, the mailing list, the influencer link building project, and we'll see where we've got to. So the next episode is an absolute doozy for you all. Is there anything else we need to cover, Adam, or are you happy?
No, I'm ready to go, I think.
Excellent. Adam is ready to go. He's ready to launch this stuff. We'll see you for the John Card episode, and then we'll see you back for Marketing Mini Experiment Part 3. Thanks for coming on the show, Adam.
Thanks. It's been great. I can't wait for the next one.
As always, there's 3 main things I want you to take away from this episode. The first is the power of accountability and having weekly things to focus on. Like, it is so powerful. If you can find someone who will help you work out what are the 3 things you need to do this week, what are the things you need to focus on, and then check back in afterwards and go, how did it go? What happened? What should we do next? if you can find someone to do that with, find another business owner in a Facebook group that you can support and they can support. Get a friend to do it. Get me to do it. Come on the podcast. Like, find someone to help you do that. It is incredibly powerful to help hold you accountable to making progress and making things happen. So the first is about accountability. The second is Facebook adverts. And we've spoken a lot about those recently on the podcast. They can be incredibly powerful. They can also cost you a lot of money. And if Adam had just scaled this test, he would actually just be scaling losing money. So he'd be throwing more and more money in and losing more and more money faster. But what he's done is very smart, is a limited test to work out whether it worked. Then he can tweak and improve and tweak and improve. And you only scale the money you put in once you've got it working and you know what's going to bring you money, you know what's going to work, you know what your profit margins is. This is all about the numbers, the geeky data, and working towards it. So that's the second thing on Facebook adverts. And the third, business is a long game. Like, it's a long game. You're not going to do this and have a huge business in week one. Like, this is the long term. You're building something to work on over the years. And actually, if you think of it like that, you can build something incredible over the long term through your daily and weekly actions that are compounded. And you all know on this podcast, I am a huge fan of the expression, the extraordinary belongs to those that create it. And this is the long game. Start creating. It's actually the mundane, the daily actions, the boring stuff that you do every day. It's not actually that boring. It's quite fun, but you know what I mean. It's the stuff you do every day that builds the extraordinary over the long term. And that is what we are doing with Adam's business. That's what you're doing with your life. That's what I'm doing with my life right now. Every month, I track my finances. I look at what I've spent. I look at what I'm saving. I look at what my net worth is. And I am working towards building extraordinary. With this podcast, it's over the long term. I'm gradually working on it. I'm helping Adam, which helps you. I'm working on the episodes, which helps you. And I'm slowly building something, a set of resources that will help people to build businesses with no debt. But I'm doing it over the long term, and it's through the daily actions like this of recording a summary, recording a podcast, and working on it that I will build it. So just remember, breathe, relax. This is a long-term game, and you can build the extraordinary. Just take action each and every week. Thank you for listening to The Rebel Entrepreneur. Thank you for being part of the podcast. Get out there and build the extraordinary. You can have any life you want to. Choose to build something cool. Choose to take action. Choose to work to make your dreams become reality. Stand out. Be different. Be yourself. Be a rebel entrepreneur.